With the West Virginia men's basketball season getting closer to an end, the talk heats up about what is the next move as far as the basketball coach for the Mountaineers. Who will that coach be? We all feel like they're going to move on from Josh Eilert. Well, USA Today has put out a top 10 list, and Paul and I are going to talk about that list and how it's kind of sucky. And we're going to do it right after this word from our sponsor.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in person today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
What is up? My name is Couz.
My name is Mountaineer Paul.
And we present to you another episode of
Hoops from the Hills.
What is going on out there? Welcome back to another episode of Hoops from the Hills. We're glad to have you here. It's been a few days since we've done a video. We're not even able to do a post-game live stream, but that's okay. We are here with this video to talk about what coaching candidates USA Today thinks are the top 10 guys to replace Josh Eilert at West Virginia. And Paul and I are not, neither one of us are very excited about this list as a whole. There are a few names on it that we like, but there are also a few names that we don't like. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to go over this list one at a time. And the first name on the list, Paul, is a guy by the name of Mark Byington, who's currently the coach at James Madison. Mark Byington, right now at James Madison, has a record of 24-3 this year. His overall coaching record at James Madison and also at Georgia Southern is 205-132. What are your thoughts about Mark Byington as a coach of the Mountaineers potentially?
I'm not going to lie, I'm still learning about Mark Byington, but he's definitely, up there on the list for me as far as guys on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love the record, especially this year. The way they're playing, they've got a bunch of high level transfers, and if those guys can come with him, then absolutely bring them to Morgantown. I would venture to say that any team that's 24-3 would probably win almost anywhere if you added the pieces around them. So anytime these days, in my head, the way I look at coaches are, okay, if I see a coach is in the running or being mentioned alongside West Virginia as a possibility, I immediately look at the roster and see how young it is, because players travel with coaches these days. That's just the way things are. And with them, it's a mixed bag. They do have a couple players that could transfer with him. Obviously, we don't know how that would look or what that would even look like, but certainly James Madison, you look at the West Virginia facilities, would be a huge upgrade over that. But as a coach for him specifically, love what he's doing there. Not my top candidate by far. Maybe throw him in a top 5. But other than that, there are guys I would still rather have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it doesn't blow you away. It's not one of those names that's going to get the fan base excited. I don't think this name is pretty hot on the message boards right now that I read and stuff like that. I do think he seems to be. I think other people have even read articles that he's right now the top guy for the job. At least that's the rumor that's out there. And I think Voice of Morgantown wrote one about it, if I'm not mistaken. But I guess if there's for negatives and positives, the negatives would be obviously he doesn't have any experience at a Power 5 school, which you're going to see with a lot of guys on this list. And he's never been in the NCAA tournament. That's one big turnoff. A lot of fans on message boards don't like. They're like, well, he's never even he's been coaching for like 20 years and has never gotten a team into the NCAA tournament. But you got to realize at these smaller schools, you basically have to win your conference tournament to get in.
You do.
And that's not easy to do. So I don't put as much weight in that. But the good part about him is he was an assistant at Virginia Tech for 10 years. So he's familiar with this region, with the West Virginia region of the country. He should be able to recruit well there. He has some connections there. He probably can get into some high schools, recruit some really good talent from Virginia. So,
DC
really. Area, right? Maybe Virginia Beach area, because we know Virginia Tech used to recruit that area quite a bit, at least in football. So there are some things I like about him, and there are some things that do make me scratch my head. Probably not my number one guy on the list, but again, I'm like you. He's probably in my top 5, and I do like the fact he's a young coach. So he's got, he would be somebody that could hopefully stay for quite a while. Number 2 on the list. Did you have anything else to touch on with him?
Well, it's just one of those things you don't know what you don't know. He could end up being terrific,
right.
and I would certainly be open-minded to it if it happened.
Yeah, and you and I have been both open and honest. We trust Ren Baker in his decision. He's really good at hiring basketball coaches.
Right.
So
as long as he's here long enough to make the decision.
Bingo. Number 2 on the list, this is a name I don't like, Dustin Kearns, Appalachian State. Dustin Kearns, Appalachian State right now, his record there is 22-5. His overall record as a coach, 123-100. He had losing seasons at Presbyterian. His total record there was 31-37. But his overall record at Appalachian State is 92-63.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on Kearns?
Neither of those places are like easy to win at, but I mean, I praise him for the job he's doing now, and he's a young guy, you have to remember that too. But it's weird. We catch these coaches earlier in their cycle than say when Bob Huggins came up.
Mm-hmm.
Usually coaches didn't get looked at until they had a group of 5 or better job. Now you get guys at the mid-major level and below. Look, with this situation, it's like really don't know. I mean, same thing as the guy before in a lot of ways, except the other guys won more. This doesn't move the needle for me. Listen, like I said, give me Ben McCollum if we're going to go the route of a guy that's won a few games but hasn't really done much outside of that, and it has a good season. We're talking about guys that are having good seasons just this year seems like to be a trend. Give me a guy like McCollum who's won several national championships at a very low level, and I'll go with him.
That's fair. Now, the one positive I'll say about Kearns to me is he was a GA at Tennessee for some time, so he does have a little bit of experience at the Power 5 level. But other than that, he spent his entire career on staffs at basically mid-major or even low-major programs. Number 3 on the list. This is one I think Paul's going to like, and that's Pat Kelsey from Charleston.
Yeah, I love this dude, man. He's won a ton of games.
Mm-hmm.
He's won a ton of games at Charleston, and even at Winthrop before that.
Yep.
So, he's won at that level and then done it fashionably. Won 30 games last year. He's on pace to win 25, possibly 28 games again this year. He's got the Charleston thing down. And I think, he's ready for a move up somewhere. He's going to get a job, I believe. Go watch a press conference of Pat Kelsey. And personally, if you like, trying to think of who I can compare him to. The anti-Mike Leach, basically. He's like completely on the other end of the spectrum, really energetic, high-energy coach, like a Rick Pitino. Except this guy is more like, okay, the coach of the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell,
mm-hmm.
That's how he does press conferences. Very passionate, energetic, emotional press conferences. And I like guys like that because they connect to players. He's really young. He played under Bob Huggins. I mean, there's a lot to like about that. And he wins, man. So I would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And he's got connections in the Cincinnati area. He was born in Cincinnati, played at Xavier. It says here in this article. And he has spent some time as an assistant coach on the Wake Forest staff during the time Chris Paul was on that roster. So he's worked with some really good players. I mean, Chris Paul's arguably one of the best point guards to ever play college basketball. Some may say that. That's probably a stretch, but he was really good.
No, he's definitely up there.
And he has connections throughout in the Carolinas, which, is a place West Virginia recruits or likes to recruit. And he's only 48 years old. I mean, his overall record as a head coach is 254 and 121, 67.7%. Right now at Charleston this year, he's 20-7. But like Paul said, he won 30 games last year. And at Winthrop, He went 186-95 as a coach, and his overall record at Charleston is 68-26. So he's put in. He's a winner. Let's just put it that way. You get Charleston to the NCAA tournament. That's not hard to do. Of the three guys we have talked about so far, he's definitely
far the most impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, even though Mark Byington's got that record, he's yet to play the NCAA tournament. This guy has done it and actually lost to San Diego State, who ended up in the Final Four. So,
right.
Actually, didn't they play in the national championship game?
They did.
So, it ain't like he lost to a cupcake team. Now, here's one that we kind of already talked about, Dusty May, in our last video, so we probably won't spend a whole lot of time, but he's on this list as well. Most of you probably know Dusty May's record, or track record, rather. He's at Florida Atlantic, obviously. His overall record as a coach is 121-66. That's all been at Florida Atlantic, and he's 20-6 this year. And he's probably one of the hottest names in coaching right now. So, if he might choose to stay at Florida Atlantic because they did just give him a big contract extension.
10-year deal.
A 10-year deal. Yeah. So he may be happy where he's at. Who knows? Florida's not a bad place to live.
No.
But, do we even need to expand on him anymore, Paul, since we did it in our last episode?
Well, most people like Indiana. He's hold out for that job.
Yeah.
Which is where he's born
right.
and bred, basically. I think we said it last. If you didn't see the last video, both Couz and I think he would be, obviously we could get down with him, but at the same time, I think he's probably being just a tad overhyped based off of 1 year. Anybody can have a 1 year run like that. Well, not anybody. It's very hard to do. I don't mean to downgrade it, but I just want to see multiple years of success from any coach we hire. And I just, he's got that same team back. Let's see what they do with them this year when they're expected to win it. Because there's some people favor them to win a national championship, and here they sit at 20-6. We'll see where they finish.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next guy on the list, who's somebody I kind of waffle on. I'm back and forth on this guy. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But it's Steve Forbes from Wake Forest. Now he's the only Power 5 coach on this list. Yeah. So that is one thing that does make it an attractive target, right?
Right.
The only current Power 5 coach, I should say. There are people on the list who've coached at the Power 5 level, but that we'll get to in a minute. But he's the only one currently coaching at the Power 5 level. And a lot of people are like, well, why would he leave Wake Forest to come to West Virginia? From everything I've read about Wake Forest, it's not an easy place to win. Their resources may not be up to par. They're a small school. Their enrollment, I think, is barely over 6,000. They're a really, really good academic school. Not sure how much resources they're putting towards sports. And from everything I've read, West Virginia's facilities and everything, their NIL, everything is outpacing Wake Forest. And there are rumblings that he would be interested in leaving Wake Forest for a better opportunity. His record at Wake Forest this season, it doesn't blow you away. They're 16-9 right now, but they have beaten some good teams, and they probably are going to get into the NCAA tournament more than likely. His overall record as a coach at Wake Forest and before that at East Tennessee State is 196-92. Now, his record at East Tennessee State was 130-43, so he did really well at East Tennessee State, which is just down the road from me there in Johnson City, Tennessee. So I'm very familiar with that university, but says he's got at Wake Forest on the cusp of making the first NCAA tournament in his fourth season. But what really makes Steve Forbes an attractive candidate for some people is the fact that they say he's an awesome recruiter as far as the transfer portal goes. And in this day and time, that's important. So what are your thoughts, Paul, on Steve Forbes?
Well, that's important. But at the end of the day, man, you're in your fourth year and you haven't made it to the tournament. That to me, that's just all I need to hear. Maybe I'm being closed-minded on this one, but you can't be in year 4 at a Power 5 university and not made the tournament. And that'd be like somebody hiring Neil Brown before this past year, 8-5, 9 before he won 9 games this year. Somebody said, you know what? I think Neil Brown would be a pretty good hire. It just doesn't really make a ton of sense. Now, and they're similar in the fact that they had success at lower levels. So, while a weird comparison, that's my comparison.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I'm like I said, at the end of the day, you never know how these things will play out. He could come to West Virginia and kill it, and I would eat crow happily. But Um, since I'm not a professional at choosing coaches, I'm just going to go off of what I know works. And a guy like Pat Kelsey works for me.
Yeah.
Or Will Wade, but he's not even on this list.
Yeah, he didn't make this list. He was on our list. So go back. I'm gonna plug it
Yeah.
again. Go back and watch our last episode, which we'll link to in the description or in the comments, maybe in a pinned comment. But the next guy on the list is somebody I was actually really high on last summer when we thought they might hire a coach at that point. But I'm not as high on him now, and that's Andy Kennedy. And the reason I'm not as high on him now is because he's basically a Bob Huggins clone, and I'm not sure. I would just like to see the program go in an entirely different direction. But his overall record as a head coach is 361 and 202. He's at UAB right now. They're 17-8 now, but they have had success over time. He's 95 and 33 overall there. He has coached at the Power 5 level, though. He coached at Ole Miss for a few years where he was 245 and 156. And before that, he coached at Cincinnati, obviously before they came to the Big 12, but he was 21 and 13 at Cincinnati when he actually took over at Cincinnati after Huggins got fired. So what are your thoughts on Andy Kennedy, Paul?
I think he'd be a safe hire, and certainly would have him higher than this on the list. Now, I'm not sure what this list is. This could just be 10 random guys. I don't know if there's any order to this list here, so I don't want to bash the list necessarily, but listen, I'd have Andy Kennedy on this list. He'd be right. You'd make a case for him to be number one, so certainly it would be probably he, May, and Kelsey would be my top three.
Okay.
But I understand going in a different direction, but at the end of the day, he can coach, and I get it. But to me, I just think he's done really well there at UAB, and I love the style that they play.
Yeah, it is fun to
He
watch.
He really loves to play with athletic guards that can really jump, similar to like kind of how like Noah Farrakhan is, or guys that, are really explosive. So I think he'd be fun to have, but certainly not a top choice either.
Yeah, as you were talking, I thought of something. If Andy Kennedy did get hired, it's my understanding, and I could be totally wrong here, but I would guess that a lot of these players are still talking to Bob Huggins behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Just to stay in touch. The ones he recruited, I mean. And like Kerr Kriisa, for example, I think he still talks to him.
Right.
And Kerr Kriisa has another year of eligibility. If Andy Kennedy gets hired, there's a chance Bob Huggins could talk those guys into staying at West Virginia to play for Andy. So it might, if there's a chance that we might keep more guys around if that's even what you want to do, right?
Right.
And if they fit into what he does. But so to me, that would be one positive is maybe you'd have a better chance of keeping your roster intact if you hire somebody like Andy who would have Bob Huggins' blessing. But again, if they hire, I wouldn't be mad about it if they hired him. I just, in my heart of hearts, don't know that it's it's not really what I would want to see him do, preferably.
Right, that's fair.
Number 7 on the list, John Schertz from Indiana State. And I know what you're asking. The same thing I asked. What did I say?
John.
Oh, Josh Schertz. I'm sorry. And I know you're probably asking the same thing I did. Who the heck is Josh Schertz? Well, he's the coach from the home of Larry Bird, Indiana State, who has not been in the NCAA tournament since Larry Bird left, but they have a really good chance to make it this year. And by the way, Larry Bird left in like 1978 or 79, just for to give you an idea how long that's been. But anyway, his record this year is 22-5. He's 56 and 38 overall. He spent it before coming there. He spent a decade at Division II Lincoln Memorial in Tennessee. So where he turned them around in 2 years, from an 11-win team to a 23-win team. So what are your thoughts there on he turned Indiana State around in 2 years. What are your thoughts on Josh Schertz?
He's really impressed people around the country from my research I did on him. Apparently, he's a hot name because people believe in his potential as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have a ton of years under his belt. But their belief is that he's going to get a job offer at a higher level than Indiana State like now. So apparently he recruits well, and that's what he does. And we'll see. But at the end of the day, you can't give a guy with 2 years in the Indiana State and nothing else the job at West Virginia. I don't care what you say. I mean, if you're going to do that, you know what you ought to do, Couz?
What? Keep Josh Eilert?
Hire who? Hire Ben McCollum.
Ben McCollum. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do that, you might as well just hire Ben McCollum. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's very, very simple. And look
Maybe.
what Ben McCollum's done.
Yeah, 4 national titles.
I don't understand. Like, and I'm just using McCollum to make a point. You know, like all these guys are on the list, but supposedly McCollum is able to be had. I'm assuming. I don't know. Just don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it either. Number 8, I really don't like this one. Jeff Bowles from the University of Ohio. No offense, Jeff Bowles. I don't know the guy. His current record at Ohio this year is 13-12. They play in the MAC. His overall record as a coach is 146-101. His overall record at Ohio is 91-59. Before that, he was at Stony Brook, where he went 55-42. I think the reason he made the list is because he did spend some time coaching in the state of West Virginia at the University of Charleston, and he was an assistant at Marshall for a few years. But other than that, I'll be honest.
That's where I recognize the name.
And he did serve on Thad Matta's staff for a while at Ohio State as well. So he does have that Ohio connection. So he might be able to recruit the state of Ohio well. But other than that, it don't really excite me. What do you think?
Speaking of Thad Matta, why isn't he on this list? You know, he's having an incredible year at Butler right now. He's completely dominating. I would love to have Thad Matta. Talk about a guy that's won championships. Anyway, one championship. But anyway, to Bowles. Yeah, you said it all, man. It's like this guy's inching towards being 500. Come on. What are we really doing here with this list?
Back to what you said twice already. Might as well hire Ben McCollum.
If we hire Jeff Bowles, you might as well hire Ben McCollum. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take McCollum.
Yeah. All right. Number 9 on the list, and this is one that some of the analysts over at 24/7 Sports are really high on, and it's Nico Medved from Colorado State. Now, Nico Medved right now, he has Colorado State at 20-6. His overall record as a coach is 191-158. And the reason I side, I'm going to give you the record of his last 2 stops. At Furman, he was 62-71, had a losing record. At Drake, he was 17-17. What am I missing, Paul? About Nico Medved.
What he's done at Colorado State seems to have impressed people, you know. I don't know, man. You know, you see his name brought up across the country, so there's got to be something else to it. And I wish I knew more about why that is. I mean, it's different in football where winning matters over everything. So in basketball, I guess sometimes circumstances get coaches extra chances.
Right.
You see coaches with 500 or under 500 records get jobs all the time, and then end up winning play. It's a coach. You know, basketball is a different animal, but Medved's had a good run at Colorado State. He is a younger guy. He's still in his 40s, correct?
He's 50. I think he's 50.
50.
Yeah. According to this article, he's 50.
Okay. The one I read said 49. I'm sure it's probably 50.
49. But, I mean, it's either here or there, really.
Right. Well, 49 just sounds better to me. But I truly believe to take the West Virginia job on, we need a young, energetic guy. So while I haven't done all the research that needs to be done on all these coaches, I'll probably wait till some more credible, no offense to this guy here, but till some more sourced, like you said, articles come out to where we get some true names on the list. to really do the research necessary. I think Medved will probably be on the list no matter what. A lot of people seem to be high on him for whatever reason,
Yeah.
but um, I don't mean to sound like a novice, but I just don't know a ton about it.
Yeah.
I know he's won. He's well above 500 at Colorado State, and that's what I know about him. And
Yeah.
that's not an easy job.
Yeah, and that's what this article talks about is how he basically turned in. They were a 9-win team when he took over, and he in 2013, and within 4 years, by 2017, they won 23 games and won their league championship. So
that's commendable.
It is commendable, but I still, to me, it's still not. And again, without knowing the Colorado State situation and how hard it is to win there, it's probably not fair to pass judgment on him. But I will say this: you mentioned other lists. I'm pretty sure he was a name on Trilly Donovan's list that he put out a couple weeks ago. Was he not?
He was. Yeah, he was.
So Nico Medved seems to be a hot name right now, and and according to some of these articles and some of these people, he can coach his butt off. So you know what? Maybe there's just something that we're missing. And obviously, we're mainly looking at records and what he's done at past stops and things like that. But apparently, there's something about Nico Medved that everybody loves. So, and I'm open to it. I'm open to learning more about the guy. And again, if Ren Baker is still here and makes the hire, I trust his judgment.
Absolutely.
Now,
same here.
Last, probably not least on the list, that's open for interpretation, I guess, or open for subjectivity, is Jared Calhoun.
Yeah.
Or objectivity. I think I got my words backwards. But anyway.
No, I mean, subjectivity plays a factor too.
But Jared Calhoun from Youngstown State. This one, it doesn't excite me, but it's probably better than some of the other names on the list to me. He obviously
it'd have been. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, he obviously got his start at West Virginia under Bob Huggins as an assistant on Huggins' staff.
Right.
He then moved on to coach at Fairmont State at Division II level in the state of West Virginia. He did really, really well there. I think he even, I don't want to misspeak, but I'm pretty sure he had Fairmont State, one of the top programs in the country. But right now at Youngstown State, he's 19-9 this year. He has an overall record of 115 and 105, a 52% winning percentage. What are your thoughts about Jared Calhoun?
He's always been around 500, 52%, right? So he's hovers around that 50% mark. He's been that. He continues to coach. 19-9 at Youngstown State. While I understand it's not an easy place to win at, when you're talking about giving a guy a Power 5 head coaching job, you want to see like what Pat Kelsey's been doing. 30 games, on pace to probably win 25 games again this year. You want to see guys doing 25 and 30 if possible. I mean, I understand it's not in every case, but for a Power 5 job in the Big 12, you've got to be looking at guys that are consistently winning and winning their league most year in and year out. I don't see why we can't, outside of qualities you just like in a certain guy, maybe like a Medved who you said is, maybe he's known for X's and O's, or like a Forbes who's known for his elite recruiting. I mean, guys get jobs for different reasons. It's all about how you have what's Ren Baker, his vision for the program? How do you think winning is done today? How do you build a winning team today? And does Jared Calhoun fit the bill? And basically the mold for what you think needs to be done to win today, regardless of what he's done at a place like Youngstown State. And you talk about another Huggins guy and needing to get away from that. I assume this is probably going to scare you away on Calhoun too, but
it does a little bit.
Certainly between Kennedy and Calhoun, it's not even a contest.
No, Kennedy all day.
And other guys on the list too. No offense to Calhoun. So listen, I think Jared Calhoun came up strictly because the way that the Huggins thing ended, and his familiar and basically the liaison Bob Huggins could be between Calhoun and the players and trying to keep that roster together. Mm-hmm. And that's why that name came up. So, and Kennedy too. So, because basically Bob can say, hey, look, here's my guy. Basically be coaching like I would coach. And the roster probably would have stayed together. But Kennedy and Calhoun both saw that this job was probably a death sentence this year. So, and smartly so, most people saw, outside of us being fans, that this job was probably going to be impossible to win at this year. So, and that's before the suspension of Creasa and everything else happened. So at the end of the day, I think Calhoun would be, if he's like an emergency type deal, like what we would have had last year. It was At the end of the day, that's all I see him as.
Yeah, and right now with them being able to do a full search now, they're not going to have to
If
sell.
they go Calhoun, yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
I'd be so mad if that's the direction they went.
Again, might as well hire Ben McCollum.
You might as well hire Ben McCollum.
That's the theme of this video, right?
Yeah, you might as well hire Ben McCollum.
Well, that's the entire list that USA Today put out. I mean, obviously there are some names we like, the Dusty Mays, the Pat Kelseys, Andy Kennedy's not terrible. Mark Byington's, yeah, he's okay. And there are some names that, we're not so high on. But we want you guys watching to give us your opinion in the comment section. Which one of these coaches, if any, do you like? What do you think about this list? Who would be your home run hire at West Virginia? And let's not get – I know some of you are probably going to come in and say we need a Power 5 guy. Well, two things. One, the chances of West Virginia getting a Power 5 coach are slim because that's more of a lateral move for most of these guys. And two, John Beilein was not a Power 5 coach before he came to West Virginia. Okay, he was coaching at Richmond. Before that, he was at Canisius. So he did the typical, Division III or Division II, mid-major, higher mid-major, power conference team. He took the career path that most coaches take. So don't get stuck in that mindset. At least be open-minded. And even with that, there are certain mid-major coaches that are, in my opinion, obviously, in our opinion, better than others. But I don't have an issue with a mid-major coach getting the job as long as it's one that can win. That's all I care about.
Agreed.
And don't forget to like Paul's got on the screen now. Hit the thumbs up button below. That really helps the algorithm. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Leave that comment that we mentioned. And subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,400 subs. And then obviously on the road to 1,500 and then 2,000 after that. So help us get there by subbing us up. Also, don't forget our football channels, Mountaineer Paul Talks Football and Couz's Corner, where we cover West Virginia football, the Big 12, other topics. With that being said, we're done.